On today's show, the drama continues over at Auburn. Will they part ways with head coach Bryan Harsin after just one season? We'll give you the latest news from the Plains. Also, tons of other news to get to from around the conference, including some SEC standouts in the Senior Bowl and a busy weekend of SEC hoops. And we'll let you hear our conversation with Arkansas big defensive lineman John Ridgeway as we caught up with him over the weekend ahead of the Senior Bowl. Locked on SEC starts right now.
You are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what's happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. Great to have you guys along. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and LockedOnSEC.com. Let's jump into it. Let's go around the conference.
Boots out to the right. Takes the handoff. What a catch!
Around the conference.
And we start today with the news at Auburn. Bryan Harsin's future at Auburn remains uncertain, and the Tiger team leaders, well, they want to share their thoughts with the school's higher-ups. Last night, Auburn starting center Nick Brahms shared an invitation to Auburn's Board of Trustees, school president, and said they want to meet with fellow leaders from the Auburn football team to discuss Bryan Harsin. Brahms tagged Anders Carlson, Owen Papo, John Samuel Shanker, Tank Bigsby, among others. Said they want to share the positives of Bryan Harsin and the guy that they actually, report to and play for. On Friday, Pete Thamel reported that Auburn AD Alan Green met with 7 or 8 veteran players to address the uncertainty around Bryan Harsin's future. Thamel did not name the players in that tweet. A couple dozen Tiger fans headed over to Toomer's Corner yesterday to show support for Harsin. One fan was chanting, "No Harsin, no peace," as a car drove through the intersection and honked in support. The future very much in doubt at Auburn. Things are going to be very interesting to see how they play out over these next couple of weeks. Now, according to Bryan Harsin's contract, if he is fired without cause, his buyout is $18.3 million, with more than $9 million of it due within 30 days. So we'll see, man. This is all interesting. They could still fire him for cause, potentially, and maybe not have to owe him that much money. But, man, oh, man, it is never dull over at Auburn, Alabama. Other news from the weekend, the Senior Bowl wrapped up, and it was a good one as the national team beat the American team 20-10. There were a lot of former SEC guys on the American team, including Brian Robinson Jr. from Alabama. He finished with 6 catches for 18 yards. Leading receiver for the American team was none other than friend of the show, former Tennessee Volunteer Velus Jones, who had 4 catches for 53 yards. Damian Pierce, the running back from Florida, he had 5 carries for 16 yards and 1 catch for 5 yards. But all in all, it was a lot of SEC guys on the offensive line, defensive line. By the way, we'll talk with John Ridgeway coming up in the next segment. But put a cap on what was a fun week over at the Senior Bowl. Leon O'Neal and Damone Clark, former A&M and LSU stars, they were both rewarded top awards at their positions. Leon O'Neal was named one of the tops on the American team in a vote from the tight ends and wide receivers groups at practice Player of the Week award ceremonies. And then Damone Clark was named the top linebacker on the American team. And that vote came from the O-lineman, tight ends, and running back groups at practice Player of the Week awards, the ceremony. So congrats to those guys. It was a good week at the Senior Bowl. And we still have some more interviews that we never got to play, so we'll sprinkle those in throughout the week here on the show. Other news over at Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz may be having to find himself a new defensive coordinator. DC Steve Wilkes just finished his first year at the helm for the Tigers, but his name is getting thrown around in NFL circles. According to a report on Sunday, Wilkes interviewed for the defensive coordinator spot with the New York Giants. Giants just hired Brian Daboll as their head coach. Much of Wilkes' experience came at the NFL level, so it'll be interesting to see if he wants to jump back into the NFL and leave Mizzou. Meanwhile, over at Georgia, they've been in the market for a new outside linebackers coach for some time now, and Dan Lanning, he left to take the Oregon job. The Bulldogs rumored to be interested in TCU outside linebackers coach Chidera Uzodiribi, and that has finally been made official. The Bulldogs announced on social media yesterday his hire has become official. He spent time at SMU and TCU under Sonny Dykes. Meanwhile, Kentucky, they have zeroed in on second-year San Francisco 49ers assistant O-line coach Zach Yenser to come in and be their new O-line coach in Lexington. He would replace Eric Wolford, who left to join the Alabama staff. Be a little bit of a homecoming, barring any last-minute changes. Yenser is expected to be named the new O-line coach. That's coming from Kentucky Sports Radio's Matt Jones. In a recent interview with the ABC affiliate in New Orleans, former LSU head coach Ed Orgeron was asked about the possibility if he would ever join the coaching staff in Tuscaloosa with Alabama. WGNO sports director Ed Daniels mentioned a fan having a very bad nightmare of Orgeron leading an Alabama defense with Nick Saban there. Orgeron said, quote, "It will never happen. Don't have to worry about that. That will never happen with Ed Orgeron. I promise you." Well, time heals all wounds and money always talks. We will see. But Ed Orgeron says will not be putting on the crimson colors anytime soon. Speaking of LSU, Colby Fields was a freshman linebacker at South Carolina this past year, signed with the Gamecocks as part of their recruiting class, played in 4 games during the 2021 season, recorded a tackle against Florida. He entered the transfer portal this offseason, and on Sunday he made it official that he is headed back home to Louisiana to play for LSU. He was a 3-star linebacker coming out of Metairie, Louisiana in 2021. He was the number 81 linebacker in the class, number 24 overall recruit from the state of Louisiana. So Colby Fields going from South Carolina over to LSU. Meanwhile, in SEC hoops action, number 1 Auburn got Saturday started off with a narrow escape against Georgia, the worst team in the SEC. That was in Athens. Missouri scored a road win at Texas A&M. Vanderbilt upset LSU. LSU has now lost 6 of their last 7, going in the wrong direction. Kentucky, they got hot and got a nice big win on the road at Alabama. Alabama really struggling as of late. And Arkansas, they stayed hot with a win of their own. So as it stands now, Auburn sits atop the SEC at 10-0, followed by Kentucky at 8-2, and Arkansas and Tennessee both behind them at 7-3. So some really, really good teams there at the top of the SEC. Some other teams got to get it figured out. Meanwhile, SEC or ESPN's College Game Day announced they are heading to the Plains. Reese Davis, along with Jay Billis, LaFonso Ellis, and Seth Greenberg, they will be live ahead of number 1 Auburn's game against Texas A&M at Auburn Arena on February 12th. So that'll be a lot of fun to see Auburn with Game Day in the house for basketball. And thank you guys again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Coming up next, our conversation with Big John Ridgeway from the Arkansas Razorbacks. You don't want to miss that. Need to remind you, BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues to march towards the big game coming up this weekend. BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has you up-to-the-minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, to go along with live real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Go check them out right now. Tons of different bets and odds and props that you get into ahead of the big game happening this weekend. BetOnline, go check them out. Roll along here, Locked On SEC. And it is Super Week, brought to you by Get Upside. There's no better place to get coverage of the big game than the Locked On NFL podcast. Locked On Bengals and Locked On Rams, they are in Los Angeles all week long covering the big games. Check out the Locked On NFL podcast. All right, one of our big interviews that we just got over the weekend ahead of the Senior Bowl. Didn't get to put it on the podcast last week, but figured still very relevant as this guy played in the Senior Bowl over the weekend. Big John Ridgeway from the Arkansas Razorbacks. Had a really fun conversation with him. So without further ado, here was our conversation with John Ridgeway of the Arkansas Razorbacks heading to the NFL. Chris Gordy here with you, coming to you from the Senior Bowl, and be catching up with a lot of guys this week. And this guy, one of the big guys out here, Big John Ridgeway from University of Arkansas. And man, my first day here at practice, he was penetrating those O-lines, getting in the backfield. What's going on, man?
Just chilling. Been enjoying the week. I've had a pretty fun time here for coming to this prestigious Reese's Bowl.
We were just talking. It is long days, right? I mean, it is meeting rooms, it is media obligations, it's practice. It's pretty draining, right?
Yeah, it's definitely long days, long nights, early mornings, late evenings. They definitely want to see you perform. It's under some pretty tight circumstances when it comes to sleep and stuff.
It is pretty cool though, from a standpoint of, I mean, you're going up against the best of the best, and you kind of get to showcase your talents and kind of stand out because, again, no offense to playing some of the opponents throughout the year, but this is an opportunity where it is literally the best of the best from seniors across the country.
Yeah, you definitely get to put your right foot forward when it comes to the year. I mean, you have 3 practices in the game and that's it. So being able to go out and dominate and show what you're capable of against, top 20, top 50 talent when it comes to offensive linemen. So being able to do that and show all the scouts and show the media and all the people watching on TV what you're made of and what you can do for a team in the future and show what type of player you are, it's definitely beneficial when it comes to your draft stock and stuff like that. So a lot of people can go up and down the boards. They can maintain, they can surprise people. So my only job this week was honestly, I just wanted to surprise people, show people what I'm about, show them that I'm a dominant in the middle and interior lineman.
Some familiarity, I'm sure, too. There's a lot of SEC guys, and I say you going up against, a couple of guys from Georgia, the LSU guy here. I mean, it's tons of different guys, that you probably saw throughout the year in the SEC. Is there a little familiarity there?
Yeah, a lot of them played a lot of different positions when it came to in-season play. And they've been moving around on the offensive line when it comes to our one-on-ones and interior run and stuff like that. But I definitely enjoyed our battles. They've been pretty fun, going against them, seeing them at different positions, seeing what, when you go in the season, you have a legit depth chart. You don't flip-flop around unless someone gets hurt. So for them to take a couple snaps at tackle, guard, center, being able to go against different talent at that, I can go against a legit tackle, but he's playing guard. So for me to be able to go against someone like that, it's fun. Like Kennard, Ingram, and all that, a couple of Georgia guys, they've been, just being pretty versatile when it comes to position on the offensive line. So they've been bouncing around. So have I. So it's just been fun to enjoy the battles we've had.
I mentioned Georgia, Justin Schaefer, and Jamari Salyer are both here. I was looking at your game log this year, and you guys played a brutal schedule. I mean, it was rated the toughest schedule in the country, but I didn't realize that game, you had the most tackles of the year in that Georgia game. I remember watching that game because, man, it was so loud. That stadium was rocking, and the offense kept getting backed up to their own goal line. I'm like, man, this is not a good situation. Was that the loudest stadium you guys played in all year?
I would say that, and when we had Texas as one of our second games, we had over like 75,000 people attendance. But that Georgia game, for it to be an 11 a.m. game and that many fans to be there and hyped and stuff like that, it was definitely an atmosphere I won't forget. I enjoyed it.
Did you watch the national championship? And two, did you root for anybody? I mean, is it weird watching Alabama play Georgia, 2 teams you guys played this year?
Everyone likes that underdog type thing. I mean, they went 1-1.
Yeah.
They both won, they both lost when it came to each other. So honestly, I didn't know who to root for when it came to it. I mean, I obviously wanted them to get their lick back when it came to losing, but I obviously wanted to see a dominant performance out of both of them. So I enjoyed it for sure.
And part of you kind of has to root for a Stetson Bennett, right? I mean, this is a guy who's hung around there, waited his time, wasn't supposed to be the starter. And, he made the plays in the fourth quarter that helped Georgia win it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I believe he walked on at Georgia, went JUCO. Yeah. They offered him and went back. So just to hear a story about that, and he was in the run for the Burlsworth Trophy too. Because I know Grant Morgan, our linebacker, he took that trophy home. But for him to be in the run for it, and just to hear his story and how he bounced back and forth from Georgia JUCO to Georgia and getting his spot and stuff like that, it's real. I can see that being inspirational to young guys. Not being able to go in and play right away, and they want to seize the opportunities they have and hopefully come back to the top dog stage. And seeing him do that, it was really cool. And to hear a story.
You mentioned the Texas game. You guys swept your Texas opponents, beating Texas and Texas A&M this year. I mean, that had to feel good to be rolling so early on and get those wins against two teams that were considered, contenders at the start of the year, right?
Yeah, it was definitely cool because our coaches always talked about back in the day, if you're from Arkansas and you run out of gas in Texas, no one's helping you, They take that Texas pride for real when it comes to that, and vice versa when it comes to Texas fans in Arkansas. But, we run Texas, in my opinion, so that's cool. I've been throwing horns down on all the pictures and stuff like that. So it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. There's a lot of guys that there's a couple guys that are here from Texas, so I've been, talking a little crap to them and stuff like that. Just telling them, like, hey, what about that game, man? Yeah, you remember that? Type thing. But it's been fun. It's all been out of, jokes and stuff like that.
More with John Ridgeway here in just a second. And need to remind you about our friends over at Built Bar. Look, this is that time of year or a month into 2022, and a lot of you are trying to eat right and do better. And if you haven't got it started off on such a right foot, maybe like a lot of us, you need to go check out our friends at Built Bar. Built.com is the website. Built Bar, it tastes like a candy bar. It's covered in 100% real chocolate, and they have a new feature out there, the Puffs. If you haven't tried the Puffs, you're definitely missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting protein bars out there. Puffs are the first ever protein infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar. They are a treat. Like we said, covered in chocolate. They're a fan favorite with some incredible flavors, from the cinnamony churro to coconut marshmallow to banana cream pie. So good. So many different flavors. You will definitely find one that you will find is your favorite. Low calorie, high in protein. Replace your candy bars with Built Bars. They are better for you. A typical candy bar could be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Go to Built.com right now. Check out all the great things that they have to offer. Again, 130 calories, 4 grams sugar, 4 grams net carbs, 17 grams protein packed in there. What are you waiting for? Go to Built.com right now. Use our promo code LOCKED15. Get 15% off your order. Use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thanks again for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Continuing our conversation with Arkansas defensive lineman John Ridgeway, caught up with him right ahead of the Senior Bowl.
Did you have a favorite win of the season, just in terms of, the overtime win at LSU wasn't pretty, but that one had to be gratifying. Did you have a favorite win on the year?
I would say going to Texas A&M, or not going to Texas A&M, playing in AT&T Stadium, going against Texas A&M and beating them. Because, A&M swept us in 2021. And being able to go there, win the trophy, the Southwest Trophy, I believe that's what it's called. I'm not really familiar with all the trophy names. I've only been in Arkansas for like 6 months. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were you started your career at Illinois State. You're an Illinois guy. Was it a little bit of a culture shock to come, I say down south? Arkansas is not that south, but to the SEC was a little bit of a culture shock for you at first?
Yeah, I would say a lot of people in Arkansas are probably rolling over in the grave telling you it's not that south. They take that South pride pretty well when it comes to Arkansas. But yeah, I wasn't used to any of it. I'm an Illinois boy, true and true. I'm with the Midwest stuff. The Midwest, is really different when it comes to Texas. A lot of people are yes, ma'am, yes, sir. Midwest is I'll look you up and down, and that's my yes, ma'am, yes, sir type thing, you know? So being able to learn and how to, you know, respect the Southern ways and being able to mesh with that culture, I'd say, was nice. And I never really had that. I had Famous Dave's barbecue type thing in the Midwest. That was our barbecue. So going down and seeing some barbecue pits and enjoying that was nice. I definitely, you know, I ate too much barbecue. Now if I smell it, I'm just like, man, I don't even want that anymore.
Talking with John Ridgeway, big defensive lineman from the University of Arkansas. Now, I tweeted out a video the other day at Senior Bowl practice. You blew through the offensive line, hit the Florida running back Dameon Pierce in the backfield. I mean, it was one of the highlights of the day in practice. I tweeted out that video, and it gets retweeted. Arkansas is retweeting it. Barry Odom's retweeting it. And I see a bunch of people throwing out, I didn't know this nickname. Vanilla Gorilla, that's your nickname?
Yeah, Vanilla Gorilla.
Where did that come from?
A lot of people are trying to find out what to call me. And a lot of people are like, let's find him a nickname, blah, blah, blah. I was like, Illinois State, no one really, you know, cares. It's kind of a basketball school. So I didn't really get that opportunity to get my name out there. You know, it's SEC play in Arkansas. Everyone wants to know who you are, give you nicknames, be a fan, know your story. So going there and people want to give me a nickname based on how I play. A lot of people want to call me like a dragon, lizard king and stuff like that. And I was like, nah, I can't do that. Like, that's like 6-year-old stuff. I can't be named Dragon King. I mean, I have a bearded dragon, but I mean, I ain't no Dragon King type thing, you know. But a lot of people are calling me like, he's like a gorilla, like he's dominant and blah, 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 blah. I was like, why not Vanilla Gorilla, you know? I wasn't going to go with like albino gorilla. That didn't really have a cool ring to it. So
yeah.
I like vanilla ice cream. I play like a gorilla. Why not Vanilla Gorilla, you know?
It just reminds me of like an old school, like Looney Tunes character or something, the Vanilla Gorilla. John Ridgeway, defensive lineman for Arkansas. What are you hearing this week, at least from the coaches and all that kind of stuff? I mean, are you translating to the next level? You see yourself as that true nose tackle that could play inside on a 3-4, but also play on a 4-3. What are you hearing from the coaches on kind of some of the things that you need to work on and fit at the next level?
Honestly, we did a little bit of both. We ran out of base and nickel. So I've been able to put a shade on film as a nose guard and also be able to play as a 3-tech. And a lot of teams have liked that. They've noticed how I'm a big man that's versatile. I'm not just a one-trick pony, you know? So being able to show that I can play multiple positions and different type of defense schemes has really helped me when it comes to my football IQ. And coaches being able to trust me, hey, this kid gets it. He knows what he's doing. I don't have to be on his case about learning a new position, making sure he understands the plays. I showed that I can take it as a pro and learn from it. And I can go into film, say I mess up on a play or say I have bad technique. I can go in that film. Coaches will show me what I need to do, and I can change it right then and there on the practice field. So being able to show that I'm really coachable, and I can go out there and still play violent and learn from my mistakes and not be hesitant when I go out on the football field has showed that I can definitely play with the pros and hopefully stick around for a long time.
And you're, you know, there's some guys who come out early, and that's what I like about the Senior Bowl is it's a lot of older guys, it's mature guys. You're also running into some guys who played 5th and 6th years with COVID and all that kind of stuff. But you're 22, you'll be 23 in May, so you're already pretty mature. I mean, it feels like if a team drafts you, they feel like here's the playbook, let's get to work, and you're going to be in the mix from day one, as opposed to maybe a younger guy who may, you know, have to work in on special teams and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely showed that I have that instinct to where I can play football and I can catch on to it pretty quick. I know that there are some younger guys that have some really good talent that can also play right away.
Right.
And that they can also not just be a special teams player, but they can also be in the offense rotation and stuff like that. And I think that's what benefits a lot of people, and not just being, I can only play wide receiver. I can't, you know, get on kickoff and run down and cover a kick or kick return and go out and block. You got to show that you can play multiple positions because, like I said, no one wants a one-trick pony, you know. They want to make sure that you can actually go out there and just play football, playing different schemes, play multiple positions, because that's what's going to get you on the field the most and get you paid.
All right, last thing. Let's put some good vibes out into the universe. What NFL team was an NFL team you grew up liking as a kid?
Yeah, I'm a Bears fan.
Okay.
Yeah, so being able to
I can already see you in the Bears jersey and making big plays on that defense.
It'd be cool, but I mean, whichever team wants to pick me, I'll be happy for, and I'll definitely work my tail off for them. So.
And you're used to cold weather too, so that wouldn't bother you, right?
Yeah, that Midwest, I got that thick blood, so I definitely stay warmer longer.
Big John Ridgeway, the Vanilla Gorilla is his nickname, from University of Arkansas. He's here at the Senior Bowl, and we'll be in the draft this year, and we'll see where he lands. John, thanks so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, that is John Ridgeway, former Arkansas Razorback. Appreciate him taking some time out to join us. We'll have some more interviews from our Senior Bowl week that we haven't had a chance to throw on the podcast yet. Leon O'Neal, safety from Texas A&M. Really a fun interview. We'll have him. We'll have Braylon Sanders, Ole Miss wide receiver. Haven't heard from him yet. So got some more interviews that'll come throughout this week on Locked On SEC. But most importantly, we're keeping our eyes on the Plains of Auburn. What is happening with Bryan Harsin? We'll update you with the latest and discuss what it means, the fallout, and all that moving forward as an interesting situation continues to unfold. I'm Chris Gordy. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. Now you can go make your second listen. Check out the Locked On Bets podcast with your boy Q and Lee Sterling. They're giving you all the bets, picks that you need to make your bets over at BetOnline. I'm Chris Gordy. Talk to you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC.
Hit the bar.